Good afternoon and welcome to the 203rd episode of the Georgia Farm Bureau Georgia Prep Sports Drive for the GHSA State Title. Today we are going to recap Tuesday's first round basketball matchups. The majority of the girls were played. There were some boys ones. Some results definitely stood out. We'll go over all that, and then Najeh Wilkins is going to join me to talk about some of the most noteworthy results and what he expects tonight. But I'll go ahead and get started with just an overview on the girls' side of what happened last night. So in total, there's 128 first-round matchups in the 8 different classes. We have already played, let's see, do a little math right here. We've played all but 19. So out of the 128, only 19 remain. Class 6A played all of theirs. We've got 6 games left in 7A, 4 left in 5A, 2 left in 4A, 1 left in 3A, 6 left in 2A, 5 left in A Division I, and just 1 left in A Division II. So there won't be too much girls action to watch tonight, but obviously the boys, it will be much busier. Some classes I don't think played a single game. I think that was 2A. 4A only had 2 games. But let's start at what we saw in 7A last night. Out of the 10 games that did occur, we saw Archer, who they finished second in that really tough region with Brookwood. They had a big win over Hillgrove, 45-36. Archer, I think, has showcased great defense this season. They were a 69-66 loser to Brookwood in the region championship, and so Brookwood is an explosive team, but I think that's a big statement, holding Hillgrove to just 36. Top seed Lowndes, 58-29 win over Westlake. They're going to play Archer next. That'll be a good Sweet 16 matchup. The Buford girls, they looked outstanding, 83-28 winner over Duluth. And then Buford is going to play the winner of West Forsyth at Cherokee. That is one of the biggest games tonight for sure. I'm really interested to see if West Forsyth can pull that off. Cherokee is a really talented team. And speaking of Cherokee in that Region 5, the region winner was Walton. The Walton girls, that was their first region title since 1983, and they had one of the most wild first-round games I've seen in recent memory. We have a recap of it on scoreatl.com. I think the Marietta Daily Journal for Scythe News also recapped it. Denmark didn't come into that game with a good overall win total. In fact, I think they were like 7-18, but they have a junior shooting guard on their team, Emma Hempker. As I said, junior, and she is outstanding at shooting the ball. On the year, she's 40% from threes. She shoots at, I think, 84% from the foul line, and then last night she scored 47 points. That's a school record. She went perfect 10 of 10 at the foul line, and Walton still found a way to win. So Denmark has had a lot of losses, but in terms of just a player going off, it's one thing to have a team that relies on one person to score and they go off for 30, but to have a girl go off for 47 and still find a way to win, I think it's a big result for Walton, a tough loss for Denmark. And just looking at some of Emma's previous numbers against, I think that's Forsyth Central this year, she had 33 points, 10 of 20 from the field. Against, who is this? Mount Pisgah this season, she hit 6 of 9 from 3, had 26 points. So I'll be interested at looking at what her numbers were, but it seems like she just went out there, probably put up 12 threes, connected on like 8 of them, got to the foul line, and just had a huge performance. So I'll be watching for her next season, see if Denmark can get some pieces around her. They were the number 4 seed. A big accomplishment for them to get into the playoffs, but a tough result right there. South Forsyth, we talked to them on Monday, what they've been able to do this season. They had lost to Peachtree Ridge last year in the first round. Had some early exits in previous years, but then this year I think they had like the 15-game win streak heading into the playoffs. Got the number 1 seed. They beat Wheeler 55-30. And now they're going to play Peachtree Ridge, the team that beat them in the first round last year. Peachtree Ridge beat Mill Creek 56-43. So that will be one of the more intriguing storylines in the Sweet 16. A nice rematch between Peachtree Ridge and South Forsyth. South Forsyth will be at home as the top seed. Brookwood, though, that's where all the questions are in 7A right now. They looked outstanding. Let's see what Deanna Collins did last night. She's their big-time scorer and playmaker. She pretty much scores over 20 points every single game. She had 27 last night. Brookwood was up 60-27 heading into the fourth quarter. 17-4 after the first, so just jumped out to a really fast start. Obviously, Deanna Collins gets them going, and then Justice McCoy had 17. Kennedy Daniels had 12. So a nice balance with the number 1 ranked Brookwood Broncos, a good first-round win. And they're going to play the winner of tonight's game, Carrollton at Valdosta. That will be an intriguing one. I mentioned Walton. They're going to play Central Gwinnett next. They had a win over North Gwinnett 53-44. Campbell, number 2 seed out of Region 2. They beat Colquitt County. They're going to play the winner of South Gwinnett and number 1 seed McEachern. North Paulding, a team that has had a lot of big wins, including a big win over South Forsyth this year. Man, they held on last night, a 47-46 win over Grayson. So just a 1-point victory. Let's see. They had a 28-22 lead heading into the half. Jada Jackson hit the game-winning free throw at the buzzer to secure the win. Once again, those roundups are at scoreatl.com. I think Casey wrote that one. Is a great recap right there. But a 1-point victory for North Paulding, a team that looks poised to make a really big run. We said Buford had the big win over Duluth. They'll play West Forsyth Cherokee. Najee and I yesterday, it's all over our social media. We talked to Marley Raymond, a freshman at West Forsyth, absolute superstar, plays point guard. Is one of the best soccer players in the entire state. West Forsyth is the 2-time defending state champs in soccer. She's been doing double duty the last couple months, and then she also played on their flag football team. I'm interested to see how she steps up. Great leader, great competitor, positive attitude, and Wolverines are certainly proud of. Got a little glitch. I think we're good. And then the other matchup that is still pending, it's going to be North Cobb at Lambert, and then they will play the winner of Collins Hill at Norcross. Collins Hill is the 4 seed, 14-4. Norcross 25-2. Both those programs have obviously won multiple state titles. Maya Moore back in the day at Collins Hill. 2-story programs. We'll see if Collins Hill can pull off a big win. But let's go to 6A real quick, where things were very interesting. As I mentioned, all the games were played. It's already set. But we were looking at, which is undoubtedly the strongest region in 6A, that's Region 3. And I said, I think they might sweep with the exception of one matchup, and that was Forest Park at number 1 seed Marist. Marist, they won the state title in 4A last year. Forest Park, I think going into this year's playoffs, they had made it to the semifinals or deeper the last 7 years. And then Marist last night absolutely stunned them. A great program, like Forest Park. Yeah, they were the number 4 seed, but that's in a region with, let's see, Woodward Academy, Lovejoy, and Rockdale County. Teams that they beat throughout the year just came up a little short in the region tournament. So I think that win by Marist, a 51-33 win last night, shows that they are the real deal, and it's just their defense. It's so outstanding. That's what their secret to success has been with Coach Hickson. She stresses it. She goes out there and says, we got to hold these teams to under 40 points. They do it routinely, and holding Forest Park to 33 points is a huge result. So I'm going to pull that up real quick just to reiterate just how good Marist has been lately. They've won 23 straight. Their only losses were to GAC and Etowah. That was back in November. Close games in both occurrences. And you never know. Maybe there were injuries in that one. Getting girls back from other sports. They've really come on strong, though. 67-4 win over South Cobb. 45-35 win over a great Westminster team just a couple weeks ago. 59-13 win over Lakeside. 54-16 in the region championship game. And then that win last night over Forest Park. 51-33. So Marist is going to play Tift County next. They're in the same quadrant as Blessed Trinity and River Ridge, who will square off. And then on the same side as the bracket as number 1 seed Langston Hughes, who beat Rome 55-36, and then number 1 seed Rockdale County, who I think could be considered the overall favorite right now. They had a 71-23 win over Lakeside. We mentioned how, Marist had just as big of a victory over Lakeside 2 times just in the last month. So they are stacking up similarly. Brunswick had a big win over Thomas County Central, 71-36. Woodward looked impressive. That number 2 seed out of that Region 3, that was a 72-33 win over St. Pius. And then watch out for North Forsyth. That's a team that we talked about. Has just been the premier girls program out of Forsyth County, really holding up that standard. And they're down in 6A now, which, 6A is already so loaded. But you put a program like that in there, it just gets even better. They beat Pope last night, 67-57. They're the top seed out of Region 8. And they will play, they will play Sequoia next, who beat Douglas County. But by far, the biggest result in 6A was the statement by Marist knocking off Forest Park, denying them an 8th straight season with a run to the semifinals. It's a tough one for Forest Park. I think they are going to come back next year with a vengeance. That's a really humbling loss and also just a disappointing finish in the region. I know that was not how they wanted to end the season after being so outstanding. Let's just look at some of those wins Forest Park has had, though, just to put it into perspective. Not only just how well Marist played last night, but kind of how Forest Park slid later on in the season. So they finished 19-8 overall. They were 12-2 in the region. So 12-2, that record does not include the region tournament. So once they entered as the number 2 seed in the region tournament, they fell to Woodward Academy 74-52, and then the 1-point loss to Lovejoy. That was in the consolation game. That gave them the number 4 seed and matched them up with number 1 Marist. So if they would have come out of that Lovejoy game, they would have played Riverwood a team that Lovejoy beat handedly 63-20. So just goes to show, even in those consolation games, earning that 3 seed versus the 4 seed can be all the difference. So a tough way for Forest Park to close out the season. They dominated everyone else besides some of their region opponents. They previously beat Lovejoy 58-56 earlier in the season. They previously beat Woodward 69-66 earlier in the season. So really tough for them, but that region will be back next year, and those teams are going to go head-to-head once again. So once again, 6A does not disappoint. I think Marist has a chip on their shoulder. They went into the playoffs unranked. I've been saying for honestly months now, it makes no sense why they aren't ranked. Just 2 losses, defending Class 4A champs, and there you have it right there. Let's go to 5A real quick. The entire left side of the bracket has been advanced to the Sweet 16. There were 2 4 seeds that won yesterday. That was Jones County over number 1 Ware County 44-36, and then Cartersville 53-44 over Jefferson. So those are the first number 4 seeds so far in our analysis from 7A down that advanced. Cartersville will play Midtown next, and then Jones County will play Arabia Mountain. Calhoun, the top seed, they're going to play Cambridge, and then Harris County will play Warner Robins. You also had Union Grove. They beat Greenbrier 66-58. Northside Columbus, the top seed, they're looking outstanding, a 76-9 victory over Lithonia last night. So huge 65-point win. The Dalton girls also 51-30 win over Loganville, and then the other big result in 5A obviously is the number 1 ranked Kell girls 69-23 win over Lithia Springs. See if we have a roundup on that one. Okay, we don't, but here's some other notes just from 5A. So Cambridge, I mentioned they beat Banneker 69-52. Their all-time leading scorer, Jordan Dudley, in the victory scored her 2,000th career point. So that's exciting for her to celebrate that. They're going to have to take on Calhoun next, the top seed. And then in that Kell game, that was that 69-23 win. They were up 35-12 at the half. And they're awaiting the winner of Flowery Branch at Hiram. I'm going to go over one more class before we get Najeh on to go over kind of what I've mentioned here and then the rest of the girls. But let's look at 4A real quick and what we saw there. There were only 2 games that weren't played. That was Shaw at Baldwin. That will be one of interest to look into tonight. Baldwin got the 2 seed behind Griffin, but they also beat Griffin earlier. They've had some big wins. They're 19-8. They're looking to get a big home win tonight. And then number 1 seed, Burke County, is going to host Troop. Outside of that, though, I thought Westminster, they have had an outstanding season. They got Courtney Ogden, McDonald's All-American. The girls are starting to find scorers around her, get that offense going. They play disciplined defense as well, and they had a big win, 52-27 over Woodland Stockbridge. They looked outstanding. They're going to play Northwest Whitfield next, who beat East Hall in a 58-56 thriller. And they were led by Kennedy Baker's game-high 29 points. So that will be interesting. You got Kennedy Baker. She's obviously a capable scorer. And then you got Courtney Ogden for Westminster. So 2 experienced playmakers that can go off for 20, 30 points. We'll see who wins that head-to-head later on this week. Fayette County, number 2 seed, they beat Islands 56-41. Hardaway looks good. I think they're one of the more dangerous top seeds that has gone under the radar for sure this season. They beat West Lawrence 71-29. They are one of the higher scoring teams. Stockbridge, a 67-49 victory over Southwest DeKalb. Stockbridge hails from Class 5A, and they've been shaking up the 4A picture in every sport. They're doing it in basketball as well, not just on the girls' side. The boys, I mean, they've got great athletics all around, and I think they're a team that they came out of that region with Luella and really played them close in the region championship game, in the regular season. They were the one team that even came within competitive distance of Luella, so I think they are really dangerous, and on the other side of the bracket could even set up a potential rematch with the Lions for it all. Chestatee looks outstanding, 61-25 win over Central Carroll. They're a top seed, really experienced program, always has great shooters, great ball movement. Stars Mill, they beat Wayne County as a number 3 seed, 45-27. Griffin absolutely dominated. They've been ranked number 1 throughout the year. They had a 62-17 win over Bainbridge. And then East Forsyth, it's just their second year as a program, and they beat Sonoraville 76-72. They also made it to the second round last year in their first ever season, but now they're going to have to play Luella in the second round. And Luella had a 67-23 win over Hapeville Charter. That's a great sign for the Lions, who are really outstanding and motivated. Westover beat Howard 58-32. Trinity Christian, top seed out of Region 4. That's the region with LaGrange, Troop, Stars Mill, Whitewater. So getting a top seed out of that region is a great accomplishment. They beat Southeast Bullock 88-52. As the highest scoring total we saw in Class 4A. You got Heritage Catoosa beat North Hall, and then number 1 seed Holy Innocents 82-34 win over Pace Academy. So you got to be impressed with these blowout wins by Holy Innocents, Luella, Hardaway, and Griffin for sure. Also Westminster. I really like 4A right now. I think there are probably 10 teams that can make noise and potentially get that magic win, but it's going to be about Luella and Holy Innocents on that same side of the bracket, potentially meeting in the semis. Well, let's go ahead, take a break, thank our sponsors. Georgia Farm Bureau will be joined by...
Our mission has always been to support Georgia farmers. That's why we created Georgia Farm Bureau Mutual Insurance Company, providing financial protection that farmers needed. While this remains the same today, we've grown to protect all Georgians through home, auto, and life insurance. From the very beginning and into the future, we stand for every Georgia community.
We are our Farm Bureau.
All right, welcome back. So Najeh's leaving the producer chair, and he's about to hop on. But yeah, last night was crazy. So many games. It's like you get the schedule. We know some of them are played on Tuesdays, some are played on Wednesdays. It's kind of a wait-and-see approach. But once it tips off, I mean, it was just results coming in nonstop throughout the night, and some significant ones, as we mentioned. The big performances as well, with Emma at Denmark, the big one with Northwest Whitfield, Westminster. That's going to be a great second-round matchup. And then we obviously covered all the way down with Class 3A. All but one game was played on the girls' side. Savannah Country Day and Cross Creek will be tonight. Lumpkin County, a team I really like, who is the number 2 seed out of Region 7 behind Wesleyan, had a nice win, 72-47 over Oconee County. I like Lumpkin County a lot. Made a really deep run last year. They are a consistent team in 3A that has made deep runs, and I think they come out and shoot well every single night. 72 points, that's a big offensive performance, but we can't look past Carver Columbus last night. They scored 102 points, 102-34 win over number 4 seed Upson Lee. That is impressive. And so let's see. Don't have the scores from that game, I'm sure as everyone, but we got Najeh on right now. Let me just go over this one real quick. In 3A, Lumpkin County, that's a team that I've said can shoot really well. Their point guard, Avery Jones, 28 points last night, and their other shooting guard, 22. So big output for them. But Najeh, what did you notice last night? Some of these girls' results, the 6A, the big Kell win, Luella having a big performance. Just what did you see?
Yeah, obviously those two are my picks coming out of 5 and 4A. Those two had great nights. Kel almost scored 100 points, so they are firing on all cylinders. Again, I think it's their title to lose. I covered 6A last night. A big surprise to me was Sequoia versus Douglas County. It was a major thing. Douglas County came in with 20 wins. Sequoia only had 17. They had a 23-point second quarter. That really made the difference in the game. They led 31-22 at half, so that was kind of one of the key factors in them upsetting Douglas County. It was kind of nip and tuck to start. It was neither team could score in double digits, but they were able to get it going kind of second quarter and then into the second half. So that was a big one. I think another one that, to me that stood out was obviously Norfolk Siphon Pope. Aaron Whalen had a big game, 14 points and 12 rebounds. I thought that was huge for them. And then they put up a 20-point performance in the final quarter, which really made a difference in the game. They cut it down to 3. It was 47-44 at the end of the third. So they was really within striking distance, but the difference was obviously the fourth quarter performance from Norfolk Side. So I thought that was a big game and obviously a win for them. Let's see. Not really too surprised with Pacey winning. As you mentioned, I think that's your pick that you mentioned yesterday, Craig, kind of coming out of 4A. Definitely a very talented team. That was actually the alma mater for Sherman White. But they handled their business, and really no surprise there. They got a lot of talent on that team. So that was obviously a big win for them. Trying to see is there any other major ones.
Yeah, there weren't too many boys ones last night.
Nah, it was only a couple.
Yeah, none in 2A, none in 6A, which was the classification you were looking at. I think only one result in 7A. That was Peachtree Ridge over Mountain View. So, I mean, tons of boys basketball tonight. But what do you see just in terms of some of the higher scoring games? I saw on the girls' side in 6A, you had mentioned, I think it was Brunswick, scored 70 for the 8th time this season.
Yep.
I mean, it's a big contrast of style when you look at 6A with the programs like Marist and then ones like Brunswick. It's like that would be a real clash of styles.
Yeah, it would be. And, obviously they can fill up the stat sheet and the scoreboard. And they're tough to defend. I think another team that has something to talk about too. Nearly 50% of their games, they've scored over 70 points. That was Woodward Academy. They scored 72 against St. Pius. So, yeah, they scored on that games about 48% of their games. They scored over 70 points. So, I mean, they're striking on all cylinders too. Another group really tough to defend offensively. So yeah, I thought that was the kind of big thing there. And then obviously you mentioned the Marist game. I mean, obviously you mentioned it earlier, but we can't fail not to mention that one. I mean, holding the defending state champion to only 33 points, a really good group. Shutting them down, I thought was big. They've only lost 2 games this season. To go in there and get that win against them, I think it was huge.
Yeah, it's like, what do you think they're doing to really throw Forest Park off their game that much? I mean, I mentioned just how probably disappointing it was for them to get the number 4 seed with those close region losses, but do you think it was just Marist really showing up and catching them off the rhythm, or is Marist defense really that good where they can dictate the pace like that, control the game, and hold a great program like Forest Park to just 33 points.
I say controlling the game, and then I think too from the other standpoint, as far as Forest Park, they were reeling. They weren't playing their best basketball. That loss was their third straight the end of their
That's right.
season. So yeah, I think that was kind of more so the effect too. I think obviously no disrespect to Maris. Maris did what they're supposed to do. They played great defense, but I think too it was a combination of that, them controlling the game, them making it tough defensively, and also just a team that wasn't firing on all cylinders, a team that was kind of reeling towards the end of the season. I think all those things were huge.
Absolutely. Yeah, first time they haven't made the semis in 7 years. And just a worst case scenario for them to get that 4 seed and have to, like, while they're in this kind of slump, to have to play Marist, who, I mean, doesn't get hotter than they are right now with, I think, the 23 straight wins. What do you think in 6A, though, big matchups in the next round? I think Woodward is going to play Brunswick.
That'll be a
Yeah,
good
that's
one.
right. Woodward, Brunswick, and then Tift County, Marist. That one might be interesting. BT, River Ridge. Do you see, like, who's your favorite in that one? I think you said you expect Rockdale County to potentially take it this year.
Yeah, I think, Rockdale County is really they're really good. They have a bunch of, players that, play phenomenal brand of basketball. And I think, like I said, when we came into the season, we said, 6A is really good. Obviously, River Ridge is in there too. You got Lovejoy. You can't sleep on Woodward Academy's in there. So I think it's interesting to see, how will Bless Trinity come out and play against them. And then obviously how will Woodward look going into the next round. And then can Brunswick make a little bit of noise? Can they be kind of that sleeper surprise team coming out of 6A?
Yeah, I think one of the things that's going to help these teams is, like, we're looking at it where they'll have 3 girls in double figures scoring, but if you have that one girl on your team that gets a double-double every single night, it's like that is so huge. We saw it with North Forsyth. We saw it with River Ridge. That was Allie Sweet had the double-double, 10 and 10. It's like if you have a girl that she's hauling in double-digit rebounds every game, you can focus the offense around that. I think that is just a huge strength to have that presence.
Yeah, for sure. And then you got players that have played in big games and big moments. So, you got somebody that can lock down the paint, obviously get boards, kick it out to shooters, get the break going. And then you got, those guards that can score and fill it up and also facilitate and get others involved. So it's going to be until the postseason when you're playing, upper echelon opponents and you're trying to win a title.
Yep, and these middle classifications, it obviously all got shuffled around a bunch. 6A also got stronger, but I mean, really 4A and 3A, they took top programs from 5A. The ones from 2A went up. They look completely different. I think if you looked at the Sweet 16, it'd probably be half the teams are new. Who do you think is the bigger threat to a team like Luella? Do you think it's Holy Innocents, Stockbridge, a team they've already faced and kind of came close? Because, I mean, there's a lot of teams that are going to be gunning for them, and obviously they're playing with a chip on their shoulder and just one goal. So do you think it's the one that they've played twice already or one of these newcomers?
Yeah, I say don't sleep on Griffin out there in 4A. That'll be interesting. Also, I would say the two you just said because it's tough to beat a team multiple times. Like if you beat them twice, usually that third time, it's a lot tougher. They know your tendencies, they know your schemes, they know what you like to run. So it makes things tougher. So I would say those two teams for sure. Then that's kind of a sleeper. Don't sleep on Griffin. They've had a good season so far this year. But yeah, I would definitely say those teams because they're going to know what they like to do. So they're going to have to probably try to switch a couple things up, not try to be so, obviously transparent or anything like that. So, I mean, yeah, I think the two you mentioned for sure.
And then let's look at the boys real quick, just what's on your radar tonight. I think the Milton Wheeler one we talked about yesterday.
Yeah.
Anytime Wheeler's playing, got to check them out because, I mean, they are top notch right now. But what other big matchups do you expect and any potential 4 seeds or 3 seeds getting that win?
Yeah, I'm definitely looking at. I want to see how Norcross comes out. I want to see how Newton's going to look. Obviously, they've dealt with injuries and things like that, but how will their program be? What's interesting is if they win some of their games, they'll probably be on the collision course with Norcross in the finals. So that'll be interesting. Obviously, that's looking ahead. But you can't sleep on obviously Harrison out there in 7A. So I think that'll be really intriguing. And then I think Parkview Hillgrove. Parkview has a really, kind of underrated team. Can they make some noise out there and, being the 3 seed and upset Hillgrove? I think that'll be intriguing to see. And then no one's really talking about it, but obviously Buford's a really good team. Their team won out in Region 8. But, I mean, Berkmar, they're in the playoffs. Usually when Berkmar makes the playoffs, they're kind of dangerous. They have a kind of a history of upsetting teams and making teams go home early. So I think you can't sleep on Berkmar either in that matchup. Obviously, Buford will be favored, but that's a team to obviously watch out for and see how deep they can go. And then obviously I think, another sleeper no one's talking about in 7A is Grayson. They're playing the tougher region. They have to play South Gwinnett, Newton, Parkview's in there. So, how will their team look? They got a good year. Amir Taylor, Collins. They got a lot of studs on their team. So how far can they go? They'll play Marietta to start, and then they play the winner of Dawson Campbell. But, how deep can they go? You can make the argument down there in their region or down in that bracket they're in. They definitely have a favorable opportunity to make, a semifinals, obviously in the state championship. Because, I mean, I think they definitely could do that with Walt Lambert down there, Mountain View, Peachtree Ridge. Like, that'll be kind of the bracket they're in. So how will Grayson look in game 1 of their playoffs? Can they make that deep run and make some noise?
Yeah, they'll play Marietta. That's a 5-23 team that comes in as the 4 seed. It's funny, if Grayson does anything to Marietta like they did in the Corky Kell, I think they're going to blow them out in that one. Yeah, that was an absolute rout. But there's a lot of matchups in 7A that intrigue me. I think Walton has been good this season. They've had wins over Cherokee. Obviously fell short to Wheeler. They're playing a Lambert team that has been impressive, the top seed. I think that 4-1 will be a good one. I do think Grayson's going to handle business for sure. Pebblebrook having to go all the way down to Lowndes, that's a big matchup for them. I mean, Pebblebrook has, I think, the wins over McEachern, Grayson, or Newton. I mean, they've played everyone, so that's a dangerous 4 seed. But I think you're absolutely right about Parkview, another team that in 7A has just been a real headache and a team that can kind of compete with anyone. But it's obviously going to be a Wheeler, Newton, Grayson. But, man, there's a lot of teams like the Parkviews, Berkmars, Pebblebrooks that I think are going to make some noise. And even South Gwinnett at McEachern tonight. I mean, these programs are well-established, proud, winning teams. So I think 7A tonight, that's where the action is going to be.
For sure. I mean, yeah, that's going to be really intriguing. See who kind of comes out. I can't wait. It'll definitely be a very busy night for us. Obviously, it's going to be games in yesterday. But, yeah, 7A is going to be really good. 6A as well. Can't sleep on them. And also 5A. Kelly handled their business last night, too. So can't wait to see how the results shape out tonight.
And then what do you think of the Cowboys last night, putting up 97, a 97-68 victory over Maynard Jackson, who is a really good team despite that 4 seed?
Yeah, they're just, I was able to, watch them in person this year. They played GHC in the region. And like I said, I was just impressed with their press trap they ran. They got, some great defenders that make it tough for you. They're, going in the paint against them is not easy. You got Peyton Marshall, who's a 4-star, 7 foot. He makes it tough. And then they have good perimeter defense. They have good shooters. So they do a lot of things well. That's why I kind of took them yesterday when I said in 5A I think they'll come out because they play the game the right way. They're well coached, and they have a bunch of players that come at you and go out for buckets.
Yep, and then the other number 1 ranked team and number 1 seed that I thought did a similar thing that Kell did was Mount Vernon, 96-56 win over Jasper County. So that's got to be great for them. Most of the boys are going to play tonight, but just to show up on Tuesday, absolutely dominate, and just get ready to watch who they're going to be playing next. That's a big kind of weight off their shoulders to get that first-round win and to do it like they did. I think you were pointing out the Collins Hill and Norcross matchup. That's going to be interesting because it's the same matchup for girls and boys. So that'll be a really pumped-up environment tonight with Norcross hosting Collins Hill back-to-back. So that will definitely be one we're watching. Anything else that kind of predictions or things that you're looking forward to just in the playoffs, or in a sleeper or potential team?
Um, no, I think just 7A. Like I said, I think that as far as just who can contend. I know obviously people will say it's Wheeler's championship to lose, but it's so many teams have played national schedules. You mentioned McKeitron, you mentioned Pebblebrook, you've mentioned the Graysons, you've mentioned the Newtons, you've mentioned the Norcross. It's just so many teams in there, I think, that can contend and really make some noise. And I think it's going to make for a really great, just bracket games, when they're televised on, national or state TV, GPB. I think 7A is going to be really interesting to see who comes out. And I think, they're going to be well tested, whoever wins it all in 7A. So I'm just really excited to see that. And then obviously for the girls, 6A, I think it's going to be intriguing. Again, who comes out? Obviously, Lovejoy's going to have their say in it. River Ridge, Rockville County, so many good teams in 6A. So it'll be interesting who comes out as well. And then 7, that's interesting too. Obviously, Brookwoods, kind of classification to lose, but you can't sleep on Buford in there, Norcross. A lot of good teams, man. So that's what I got now. I can kind of go with sleepers, when it gets, down a little bit. Obviously, we'll be covering Friday and Saturday as far as the Sweet 16 and then kind of the, round the second round. After that, I can kind of tell you who I have can make some more noise and possibly make even a title run.
Yeah, for sure. I think Buford, you had mentioned them. I think that's an interesting team to watch. They're a number one seed. They haven't necessarily been great this year. They have gotten a lot of wins, and from what I was hearing is like their roster might have had a couple guys that had transferred in that were ruled ineligible or didn't work out. And so Coach Benji Wood, an outstanding coach, had to kind of reshuffle the roster, the starting lineup, and get them going. And so you just look at the recent wins in the region tournament. It just proved how kind of deep and competitive these regions are. 58-54 over Collins Hill, who's going to be playing Norcross. That'll be a great measuring stick. And then Buford beat Mill Creek 55-50 in the region tournament. Mill Creek's going to host North Gwinnett tonight. I think there's going to be a lot of close games down to the wire. And I think Norcross might have a chance to do something special. And, man, if we see a Norcross-Newton game in the second round, it's just that just shows how
That's what I'm
impressive this
saying.
playoff bracket is.
For sure. I mean, that's going to be, you're going to have to get your popcorn ready for that one, for sure. But no, they wouldn't play them into quarterfinals.
Norcross and Newton?
Yeah, according to the bracket
Oh,
on
man,
score.
let me see real quick. I must have this typed up wrong. I've Osborne and Denmark top left. Is that
Yep.
right?
Yep, that's right.
And then below them, Collins Hill, Norcross.
Right.
And then below that, Harrison and Newton.
Yep.
So wouldn't
And then below that's Pebblebrook and Lounge, right?
yeah, so okay, you're right, quarterfinals. Gotcha.
Right. Yeah, nah, no worries, no worries. Nah, I definitely would get it right. No,
Yeah,
I
so
still though. I mean, I think that's a great electric matchup. You don't get much better than Norcross and New. And it was crazy, Craig. They played last year in the semis, and that was a 3-point game.
okay, yeah, that is going to be huge. And
Yeah,
then
I mean, them
I
two facing off.
yep, and then the West Forsyth and Cherokee, that's the similar situation in Collins Hill, Norcross, both the boys and girls. It's going to be West Forsyth at Cherokee. We talked to Marley Raymond yesterday. How impressed were you? I mean, I encourage everyone to check out the interview, to follow her, see what she's doing. But how impressed were you to just see a freshman that mature, that established as a leader, representative of her school, and just someone that is willing to compete every single day at the highest level?
I think they just got you. She's well mature beyond her years. Can't say enough compliments about her game. Just how she seems to talk about the game, how intuitively it comes to her, how she talks about how she prepares. think all that stuff matters, man. She plays. I think you said today she plays five football too. That's three different sports, and then she's been playing since she was 2 and 3 years old. And obviously, her parents raised her the right way. She got a good head on her shoulders. Obviously, sports is a way. She wants to help herself, but she's a great student that she mentioned as well, and she takes it pretty serious. I mean, for her to be able to balance all that, it's just gonna really prepare her for life, and she's gonna be what I'm saying, good to go. For happens in her career, and obviously she said she plays soccer on the next level. Not to play basketball, but all those experiences that she's getting young and playing for a U.S. National team at 15U, all that's going to just prepare her going down the line, and it's going to be just special to see her play in the coming years, and obviously we'll see her for 3 more years after this, and seeing if she can kind of propel West Forsyth into a title.
Yeah, she was on underrated and overlooked. I don't think she'll be overlooked for long. She's probably the best girls soccer player in her grade in the entire state. She can start at point guard in 7A for a playoff team, and she was playing, I think, receiver and DB in flag football. She's fearless as a competitor.
For sure.
I mean,
No, for
most
sure. I mean,
freshmen would be, intimidated.
yeah, she wasn't, and I think that says a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Really special player. Everyone check out that interview. Najeh, thank you so much for joining us. We will be watching all these results for sure tonight. And we'll have our roundups up at scoreatl.com. And then, Najeh, any plans for keeping it real with Najeh tomorrow?
Yeah, I gotta go scour. I'm not gonna lie to you. I haven't had a lot of time, but I did see some major headlines. I'm gonna go back and look at them and try to complete today before obviously getting our recaps and stuff done. But yeah, just probably gonna do. I don't think I'm gonna do any guests tomorrow. 'Cause it's gonna be tough now. It's Wednesday. It's tough to get people. You gotta really do that. Beginning of the week. So probably just gonna be a field segment, me reacting to kind of the first round of the playoffs. Because that's gonna be all completed today, right?
Correct. And actually,
Yeah.
there
So
was.
probably.
Go ahead, sorry.
No, no. So yeah, probably just react to the first round, and then giving my analysis on it, what I think, and then kind of looking ahead to again with probably previewing some of those major matchups, which ones I got my eyes on. Some football news, giving updates on that, and then probably concluding with a little bit of soccer and lacrosse.
Awesome. Well, yep, we will check that out for sure. We got our rankings up, all that coverage. So thank you so much, Najee. We will tune in tomorrow. All right. Got one football news-related update to give you. McEachern has found their replacement for Franklin Stevens. That is going to be Kareem Reed. He was at the University of Florida as a quality control assistant, but he's also no stranger to Georgia high school football. He was the head coach at Griffin from 2019 to 2020, and before that, he was the head coach at Westlake. So that's Kareem Reed. He is back in Georgia, new head coach at McEachern. He also was at Central Florida and then was the director of player development at UCF. And let's see, his focus, I believe, was the defensive line in those roles, but he's obviously a head coach too. So in his previous roles, he led Westlake to 3 region titles in 3 straight seasons. He took Griffin to the 5A quarterfinals, and then he also coached at Coconut Creek in Florida. That's his alma mater. So big hire for McEachern. They had a really strong run last year until their quarterback went down. Had some tough losses after that, but McEachern definitely a team that is ready to compete in 7A next year. And I think we saw with Ware County, they were considered the best team to not win a state title. That obviously changed last year. But I think if you had a top 10, you'd have to have McEachern in there, a 19-time region championship program. I think you'd have to put Stevenson in there, and I'm just going to say Walton. And Mill Creek was in there until last year too. So can McEachern get it done under Coach Reed? That'll be something to watch in the years ahead. But we will be back. Obviously tonight, go to scoreatl.com to check out all the playoff results and brackets. and we will see you guys tomorrow.